फोन पे चेक करना है।
हाँ, 1 मिनट रहने दो। यार साउंड क्या करूँ?
Under $500. We see up top we've got the OnePlus 5T Reviewer's Guide.
से रोज सुबह 1 चम्मच नेस्कैफे, गरम पानी, थोड़ा दूध, थोड़ी चीनी। कैसी लगी? स्ट्रॉन्ग? जरूरत नहीं। Congratulations. बताया नहीं तुमने मेरे कॉलेज में पढ़ाई। सोचा आपको सीनियर बना। जूनियर, कॉफी किया। आपसे दिन भर भागना है, रात भर जागना है। मुझे सर्विस
used to. So on the outside, it's the shape we're used to, the rectangle with rounded corners. But this is the first time the display itself actually has curved corners, and it's pushed right up to the edges of the phone, or at least closer than they've ever been. The commercials make it seem a little more dramatic than it actually is, but hey, it's 2017, phones have small bezels, that's just the way they are now, so in that way, the iPhone catches up. And it pushes everything to the corners and keeps all the front-facing sensors in the notch, that forsaken notch at the top. It's actually not that big of a deal, but we'll get into that soon. Just holding the phone though, it feels great. I think it's an awesome size, but if there were a bigger iPhone X Plus, I would totally get that. Right now, despite the larger display, the 10 is definitely closer to feeling like an iPhone 8 than an 8 Plus. It still feels like a smaller phone compared to the others I've used. And also, thanks to the stainless steel sides, it's definitely slippery, and it's definitely going to slide out of your pocket at least once. It happens to the best of them. And it's crazy, the silver, it's so shiny, and honestly, we all know your phone is never going to look as good as it does fresh out the box. Unlike the more matte finish of the previous iPhone, I'm not convinced this super shiny finish on the iPhone's rails is going to last like this. We've seen this before on other products. It definitely gets chipped and scratched. You probably already know I usually go for a matte black skin here, which, not gonna lie, still looks pretty good. But Dbrand's got something new for the 10, the grip. So like the name implies, this thing is supposed to be the best way to grip your phone. Look for a full review of this bumper later this month, but I'll leave a link below if you want to check this one out. A lot of people were asking about it when I showed it in my Instagram story. But overall, it's a pretty complete hardware package, as you'd expect from a $1,000 smartphone. You know, it's the speakers, even though they aren't front-facing, are still pretty good. It's water-resistant, which gives you some nice peace of mind. It has wireless charging. There's no headphone jack. Welcome to 2017. But overall, it's well-considered and well put together. Is it now officially the most breakable iPhone ever, thanks to having glass on the back? Yes. Yes. The one part of the hardware of this phone I actually really don't like is the camera bump, but not just for the usual reason, like rocking on a table. I've just kind of accepted that at this point. But because of the new orientation, a couple times I've noticed it's easy to accidentally get your finger in the photo or video you're taking, just because it's all up in the corner. It might take a couple days to get used to that and stop getting your finger in the corner of your shots. But what's really become the signature feature of the iPhone X is around the front, and it is that notch up at the top of the display. And there are two camps with this. Number one is, I hate it, it's ugly, I wish it wasn't there. And number two is, I actually don't notice it anymore. And just like with the Essential phone, I tend to fall more in camp number two. When you want to make a 2017 phone and you want to shrink the bezels, you still have to put all the front-facing sensors, all of the cameras, and the IR blaster and the depth sensor, you have to put that somewhere. In 2017, some manufacturers keep a smaller traditional bezel to house it. Some try to go no top bezel and put everything in the chin. Some try to minimize all the bezels and use a sort of a cutout notch. Apple has decided to go with a notch. And I don't mind it. In fact, I literally don't even think about it anymore in everyday use. Now, obviously, when you're focusing on it here as I'm talking about it and highlighting it on video, it's really obvious. You know, the unibrow at the top, it kind of just becomes a part of this iPhone X's character, but you're never really looking at it during normal use. Like flipping through apps, scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, whatever, it disappears pretty quick. Now, not everybody feels this way. Clearly. Like, I've seen all the clever, like, hiding the notch stuff, all the apps and the wallpapers and that. I get that. But because this is Apple, and because they're stubborn and will never admit that any of their solutions are anything other than perfect, they've come up with the opposite solution, which is embrace the notch. So in all their software, and all the software they'll promote, is apps that wrap right around that notch and fill up the whole display. That's what an optimized iPhone X app looks like. And since this is a taller aspect ratio, apps will have to get updated to do this. Developers will have to get on their horse and actually put in the work and update their apps to get them to fill up the display like this. And to be fair, most of the big name apps are already upgrading and embracing the notch like Apple wants, but there are still plenty that haven't updated yet, and they'll be obvious when you see them because they'll have these big bezels up at the top and the bottom, kind of like you're using them on an iPhone 8 again. So slowly, over the next couple of weeks and months, all the apps you're using will get updated to embrace that notch, whether you like it or not. It just takes some time. Probably the biggest change developers have had to make to their apps.
लेकिन स्क्रॉल होगा तो ये हेडर और ये सब चला जाएगा और ये तो ऐसे